Hey everybody, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where I answer the questions that I tend to get a lot of from either my clients or online. And today, I actually had a really great question this week from someone, and she wanted to know what's the best way to deal with being hangry? So we're gonna talk a little bit about that today. I think it's a great topic. I don't know if you've been there, I've been there, we've all been there, right? You're hungry, and it makes you angry. So you're a little irritable, and so you're hangry. So let's talk about what that really means, because that is a justified real thing. And the biggest issue is where it's coming from. And honestly, if you look at it in a certain way, it's totally avoidable. Maybe not if you're in contest prep, but for most people, the average person, there really are ways to avoid being hangry. So, being hungry is one thing. Actually, I work really hard to teach my clients the difference between hunger and hunger, because one's a physical hunger, the other is more of a mental hunger or a craving. And the biggest difference and the way to tell whether you are craving something or really hungry is honestly just by answering the question, what will solve that, right? So if you can eat some vegetables or some protein and you're no longer hungry, yeah, that works. You're probably physically hungry. There's like a tightness in your belly. You kind of get used to that feeling. Like my body tells me when it's hungry. It's like, hey, I get that tight, kind of feeling in my stomach. But if it has to be something that is highly processed, more of like a junk food or a comfort food, it's probably more of a mental hunger or a phantom hunger versus an actual hunger. So, getting to know the difference can be a big deal on that. But there are times, honestly, when people do get hangry. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So we're going to go over that first, and we're going to talk about a couple of tips and how to avoid that. Now, this question came from somebody who was interested in, she was doing some sort of a challenge. I'm not sure if it was at work or with her gym or whatever, but she was on a super, super low carb diet. And now, in that kind of a situation, my first question is, okay, well, is that a lifestyle? Because a lot of people love this idea. Oh, somebody from Finland's on there. That's pretty cool. Everybody has this idea that, hey, I'm just going to temporarily cut out all my carbs and I'm going to lose all this weight, but they have no intention of staying on that kind of a lifestyle. So here's my problem with that. Whatever you do to get where you're trying to go, you have to keep doing to stay there. So if you are, if you're going to do keto, that's great, but you got to make it a lifestyle. It's really more of, I think we're getting so far off the actual path of what we're trying to accomplish, because we all want this easy, quick fix, and it just doesn't work that way. I am not a huge fan of low carb diets or keto diets. Having done them myself, I find there's some really big disadvantages. I'm not a fan of cutting out any sort of nutrient. I really feel like instead of cutting out carbs, we need to cut out the crap. So that's kind of my plug for really just, honestly, there's a big difference between a Pop-Tart and an apple. One has a lot of nutrients and vitamins and minerals. The other is just empty calories. That's such a big difference. And so unfortunately, most people think, well, I'm just going to cut carbs. Yes, but you're cutting out all of these beneficial fruits and vegetables. Those are carbs too. Those are the carbs we should be eating. So, kind of think about that first. But getting back into the idea of hangry, I think it really comes down to more of a lot of highly processed food. So let's talk about the reasons why you might be hangry. Number one, if you are eating way too low of calories, if you're not getting enough actual food in, because maybe you're on some sort of low calorie diet, you're gonna be hangry. Your body was designed to survive. And so if you go at too high of a deficit, your body's gonna do everything in its power to make you eat. And that includes, it starts messing with your hormones, that ghrelin hormone. I always think of ghrelin as like, grr, I'm hungry. That's your hunger hormone. Your hunger kicks in and you're hungry all the time and you're a little bit miserable, so you're hangry. So when you're looking at eating nutritiously, it's not about having a huge deficit. That actually is completely counterproductive to what you're trying to accomplish, because your body goes, oh my gosh, she's starving. And then it works against you. So instead of losing weight or getting the direction you want to go, your body fights you on it. So if you're not getting enough calories in, and again, we're going to talk about quality of calories in just a minute, but if you're not getting the calories in, your body's going to fight you and you're going to be hangry, right? Because you can't run on empty. That's like not putting fuel in your car and going, okay, why isn't it starting? Well, it doesn't have any fuel. It can't run. And so if your body doesn't have that either, you might be able to borrow some time for a little while, but at some point your body's going to rebel and you're going to come crashing down, especially energy-wise. Number 2, blood sugar swings, especially if you're eating a highly processed diet. Now, we talked last week a little bit about diet foods and what really is health food and what's not, because so much stuff out there it says right on there, healthy on the package. That means nothing. I mean, they can put whatever they want on there. That doesn't make it healthy. So many people eat really highly processed food, refined carbs and sugars, and they can't figure out why, they feel great for a minute and then they crash. Well, that's because your blood sugar's doing this. And there's ways around that. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But if you're getting too many simple sugars, and number 1, your body learns to run on sugar, not fat. That's a problem. You don't become fat adapted. You're not utilizing, isn't that what you're trying to do anyway, is burn fat? At least that's what I would want to be doing. I don't want to burn muscle. So versus losing weight, the goal is to lose fat. And if you're eating a lot of highly refined sugars, your body learns to run on sugar. Plus you start to crave it. When you eat sugar, the dopamine response, the part of your brain that lights up, is the same part of your brain as cocaine does. So again, there is a high addiction rate when people get on sugar. You know what it's like. I get off sugar and man, I have withdrawals, I get headaches, I feel lightheaded. It's really not a pretty scene, just like if you were taking a drug, you were addicted to it. So you have to be really careful about when you do get those cravings. If you keep indulging in those cravings, you're going to keep having those blood sugar swings. And yeah, when you drop, you're going to be a little bit hangry. So again, if you can avoid that, and again, we'll talk about the tips on that one in just a second. Number 3, just too much processed food. Number 1, it doesn't fill you up. So, when you're eating a lot of garbage, your body processes, it's already processed, right? It's highly processed food. So your body goes through it so fast that all of a sudden you're hungry again. It might have stored it all as fat, but you're still hungry again. So there's a huge downside to eating, the American diet, which is a huge percentage of just really empty calories. And don't give me this, well, it's fortified, because that is not the same thing as getting that in really fresh whole foods. It's synthetic and your body just doesn't use it the same. So if you're eating a lot of highly processed food, you're not going to stay full, you're not going to stay satiated, and that really can get you to that hangry point in your day. Number 4, if you are going too long, Leanna wants to know why I look skinnier. I'm actually leaning out just a little bit, Leanna. So yeah, I do. I know. And I've got my hair up too, which makes my face look really thin. So if you're going too long between meals, yeah, you're going to be hangry. Have you ever kind of gotten to that part of your day and you get kind of foggy and kind of, grumpy, right? And you're kind of miserable. And then you go, oh my God, I forgot to eat. So you pull out your meal, you eat it, and immediately you feel so much better. I get that a lot from people. I get it. We all have jobs. We're busy. I have a lot of people tell me they forget to eat. I'm like, I plan my entire day around my food. I don't know how you forget to eat. Well, I do. You just get busy and you don't make it a priority. You may have to set your timer on your phone, your alarm, to go off every 3 or 4 hours so you remember to eat. The downside of not getting enough food in during the day is that you're going to get home, you're going to be starving, you're going to be hangry, and you're going to allow yourself the justification of, well, I didn't eat anything today, so technically I can have whatever I want, which is literally the worst thing you could do, because now you're shoving a bunch of garbage on top of no metabolism. Your metabolism dropped during the day when you forgot to eat. So that can become a huge problem as well. Number 5, the 5th reason you might be hangry. There is a certain amount of population that your genes just kind of make you go there. There are certain genes within your body that will make you grouchier when you're hungry than some other people. Sometimes I learned when I was a bigger girl, that I learned what that physical hunger felt like. My husband was great. He taught me, he's like, just tell your body, eat the fat, eat the fat. So I knew that if I wasn't going to eat all the time, that we had to burn something. And fortunately, it happened to be fat because I wasn't eating a lot of sugar at the time. But some people have genes where they're just hungrier than other people. So if you can use some of those other tips and tools to avoid being hangry or getting to that point, some of us are just, I don't know. I think that there are just times that you're going to be hangry depending on what's going on in your life. But number 6 is stress, right? Because stress, your body responds to stress with cortisol. Thank you, Leanna. She says I'm looking really freaking good. I appreciate that. Today was my massage day, so on massage day I don't get dressed up or nothing. So stress can cause, on top of being hungry and having some of those other issues, stress can actually bring on aggression, impatience, frustration. So now you're kind of adding insult to injury because you're hungry, but now you've got a lot of crazy stuff happening in your life that makes you crave comfort food. And so then it just becomes a cluster, right? So that can be a problem. So here are your tips. And for some reason, I feel like some of these should be common sense, but in this day and age when nobody's really learning what healthy foods are, they're not teaching it in schools, then we're not being educated. Downside is that even our government really hasn't given us really great definitions of what healthy food is. Yeah, let's not even go into that today. It's up to us to figure out what some of these things are. So number one tip, if you are finding yourself hangry, you may need to make sure that you're getting enough protein in your diet. I find that women especially get not even remotely enough protein. Remember that protein actually builds and maintains muscle. So if you're not giving yourself what you need for that, not only that, it's a thermogenic nutrient. Your body has to heat up hotter to break it down. So it actually raises your metabolism a little bit, nothing crazy, but it lasts longer in your system. So you stay satiated longer. So if you're not getting enough protein, and yeah, protein shake here and there is okay, but I really believe in eating real food, real whole food, not fast food. Yes, I know I'm gonna hear somebody that's gonna say, well, fast food's better than nothing. Yes and no. Once in a while, that's fine, but if you regularly eat fast food, you are actually doing damage not only to your body and your metabolism, but to your DNA as well. Ugh. So again, make smart choices, but fresh whole foods, grass-fed beef, free-range chickens. You pay attention to where your food comes from and make sure you're getting enough of each of the nutrients. Because if you're not getting enough protein, you're getting the calories from somewhere else, and it's either got to be carbohydrates or fats. So you've got to make sure that you're getting enough of the right amounts of each of the macronutrients to support your goals. Number two, remove refined carbs. Highly processed food in general is it's so damaging. It's addicting, and in this, nobody knows how to cook these days. So it's really difficult in order to eat a little bit healthier because we're all getting something that's takeout or from the freezer section. If you really struggle and you really don't know how to cook, find a local company that does meal prep. They exist. I know there's a bunch that actually will freeze and ship your food to you. Find them and utilize them. You're gonna pay for it, but come on, you're paying like $8 for a disgusting Big Mac, a drink, and fries. By the way, those fries are like the worst thing you could possibly eat in your whole life. So why don't you spend that money on healthy food? Instead of buying an $8 latte with a bunch of sugar and crap in it, buy some healthy stuff. And if you don't know how to cook it, find somebody who does, okay? Let's see, I'm just checking my notes, sorry. So, and definitely do not eat simple sugars by themselves. Even fruit, I recommend that my clients actually eat it alongside a protein or a fat to slow down the absorption rate of the simple sugars in the fruit. So if you're gonna eat an apple, maybe you eat a piece of string cheese or a little bit of almond butter or a handful of almonds. So try not to eat just plain carbs, simple sugars, especially by themselves. Add some of the other macronutrients because it will slow down how your body utilizes them and how quickly it turns to sugar in your system. Number three, use great sources of healthy fats. This one's been such a frustrating one. I've had a lot of clients that I really have to reintroduce to them what healthy really means, and that low fat was something that came up in the early 90s, that the government came up with that had no scientific background whatsoever. This low-fat diet. Now, some people do need to eat lower fat. It just depends. Everybody's individual. However, healthy fats are necessary, and fats have gotten such a bad rap, kind of like now carbs. Like, we're going all these crazy directions. Just eat healthier and cleaner. So for the fats, really avoid vegetable oil, trans fats. Focus more on things that we know are good for us. Coconut oil, olive oil, avocados, all different nuts, as long as you're not allergic to them. There's healthy fats out there. You need them. Your body's, all your cells are made up of lipids. That's fat. If you aren't providing your body with what it needs, the cells aren't gonna turn over as fast. You're not going to keep yourself young. You're gonna age faster. So make sure that you're doing that. Plus, it'll actually help keep you satiated as well, which again is not a bad option. It will also help to balance your blood sugar. So again, if you eat oats, but you eat it with a little bit of almond butter, it's going to slow down the absorption of any sugars from the oats. So mix and match and make sure that you're getting a good combination of foods and keep it as clean and as whole as you possibly can. Number 4, do not have a giant deficit of calories. You know, if your resting metabolic rate is 2,400 calories, plus that's just resting. That means if you don't even get out of bed, you actually burn calories. Your heart still has to beat, your brain still has to function, your nervous system still has to fire. So what you do actively above and beyond that doesn't even count as your resting metabolic rate. So if you're already burning 2,400 calories in a day just resting, but you're only eating 1,200, that's a 1,200 calorie deficit, not to mention what your deficit is from your activity for the day. Your body will think you're starving. You will not be able to reach your weight loss or fat loss goals that way. 500 kind of is my, look that if you're somebody tiny, my resting metabolic rate is about 1,400, maybe 1,500 calories because I have a lot of muscle. My average day burn is between 2,200 and 2,400 calories. So if I were to do 1,000 calorie deficit, that's pretty ridiculous. 1,400 calories when I burn 2,400 a day, that's a pretty intense deficit. I'm not going to be functional. I'm going to be exhausted. I'm not going to be able to be optimal when it comes to my energy and what I'm trying to accomplish that day. So 500 calories is really kind of, people think, okay, well, to lose about a pound a week, 500 calorie a day deficit is a good starting place. And then pay attention to your energy levels as well, because there's a lot more to it, but I know that sometimes it gets complicated, but that keeps it pretty simple and gives you a good starting point. All right, number 5. Eat more. If you're really finding yourself hangry, you might need to eat more small meals throughout the day, especially if, again, you're going too long between meals. So either, in the bodybuilding world, we tend to do 6 small meals, but I'm totally fine with, 3 big meals and a couple of snacks. Make sure they're planned snacks. Don't go grazing through the house, because now you're going to get a whole lot of extra calories and things that you really don't need, especially if you're specifically working towards a goal. I mostly assume that you become hangry because you're dieting to some degree. And so you got to be smart about it, make good choices, and make sure that you're not fighting your body on it, because it knows better than you how to keep you alive, really, if you think about it. So have some more, carry some snacks with you. And when you get to that point, make sure that you're getting something in there. You shouldn't be hangry. If you're trying to live a healthy lifestyle, hangry really shouldn't be part of that. Number 6, make sure you get enough fiber. Now, I know there's 2 ends to the spectrum, because I've listened to some PhDs talk about, well, don't get too much fiber. I get it. But if you're getting the right types of fiber and the right amounts of fiber, it will help you stay fuller longer. So, and really that just comes if you're eating lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. You don't necessarily need to take a supplement. I really feel like you should get the majority of your nutrients through actual whole food. That will also help regulate your blood sugar and insulin response as well. Number 7, avoid sugary drinks and artificial sweeteners. If you're drinking 600 of your calories in that mocha chocolate whatever, that's not even okay. I'd rather personally eat my calories, but I think that we kind of have this tendency to not count those because they're in a drink. But 600 calories of sugar is seriously bad for you. Not saying to go cold turkey, I get it, but you might just need to start making some better choices with that. And as for artificial sweeteners, just make sure if you are using them, use the ones that are known to not cause any sort of cancer, that don't raise your blood sugar. Even sucralose, which is Splenda, has actually been shown to raise blood sugar. It does contain calories. It just doesn't contain enough calories for what their serving size is, so they don't have to put it. Those who do keto know that they need to stay away from sucralose as well. Stevia, I like stevia. I've gotten used to it. I use it all the time. And that is one that has been shown to be a little bit better option than some of the other ones. Let's see. Don't skip meals. God, I hear this one all the time. It's kind of if some is good, more must be better. Well, if some deficit's good, then skipping a couple meals should be fine. Yeah, that's when you get hangry, right? That's when you start to have issues and your body's going to fight you on that. So, I know once in a while that, something happens, I get it. But when you do that regularly and then can't figure out why you're not reaching your goals, go back to see if you're getting all your food in. When I work with clients and they're not seeing results, the first thing I do is I want to see their MyFitnessPal. I want to see what they're eating. And when they're consistently under eating their foods on a daily basis, how do I walk them down? If they start out at 1,200 calories and they drop 30 pounds, where do I have to go? They're already eating starvation calories. So make sure that you're getting all your calories in. If they are clean whole food, your metabolism will actually raise to burn that off. I've talked about it before, but the bigger the car, the bigger the gas tank, and the smaller the car, the smaller the gas tank. So when I was 210 pounds, I was eating 2,400 calories and losing weight. If I would have started at 1,200, I would have had nowhere to go. And then I would have just plateaued and stayed there. So again, don't skip meals. Whole foods will keep you fuller longer. Let me give you an example. Like pizza or Pop-Tarts, man, you're gonna be hungry in 2 seconds versus you eat steak and potatoes without a bunch of crap on them, you're gonna be full forever because whole food lasts longer in your system. When I work with people, I give sample meal plans, and especially guys, and it might be 2,600 calories, and it's all whole clean food. The first 2 weeks, they're going, I can't even eat all this. And my response is, well, you were eating more than that in a pizza and a pitcher of beer. So it's not the calories, it's just so filling because it's so much more volume. Whole clean food has a lot less calories to it. You can get a lot more in. So when you hear people say, well, to be healthy, you actually have to eat more, that's what we're talking about. When you eat clean, healthy, it's a lot more actual food because it's not calorie dense because it contains all the garbage in it, right? All the fats and trans fats and the nasty stuff in it. So eating the whole food will keep you fuller. And then my last one is drink more water. Most people don't get enough water. Also want to remind you that if you're eating super, super clean, you do need to add sodium to your food because you actually need a certain amount of sodium, potassium, magnesium, as well as water in order for your electrolyte balance to stay balanced, right? I've seen people get dehydrated and when they're drinking plenty of water. One of those gets off and then your body just doesn't react the same. But drinking more water will actually keep you fuller longer. And no, your soda pop does not count because that's processed crap. Make sure you're taking if you don't like the taste of water, find something that works. You can get a diffuser. You can try some of the drink mixes. Again, they actually do make some decent ones that are sweetened with stevia versus sucralose or aspartame. Run from aspartame, people. If you're drinking diet sodas, you need to figure out a way to quit that. They are super not good for you, okay? So hopefully that helps. I've been hangry a day or two in my life, especially, when I was in contest prep. That's kind of part of what to expect. But in your normal, healthy, trying to live your very best, vibrant life, hangry on a regular basis should not be an option. There's ways to avoid that. And that's when your body's telling you something. So learn to listen to it. Have an incredible evening, you guys. That is Q&A Wednesday. And again, no meals with Melissa this Saturday. We will be in Boise, Idaho for a second bodybuilding competition, coaching there. We've got a couple girls there. So if you want to come out and see it, please do. It's at the Revolution. Oh, no, I can't. Concert House. I think that's what it's called in Boise, Idaho. It's a great venue. It's a great show. We'll see you there. And then next week, back to normal. Hallelujah. Have a great night, guys. And I'm out. Have a good one.